Visit TVGH. Subscribe, like, and share.
Greetings and welcome to Visit Learning on Visit Multimedia, where mathematics is made simple, where the monstrous mathematics is made mild. Today we are here once again to come your way with lessons in mathematics. So continue to join us. And I'm reminding you that when you get this video, please subscribe it. And you do what? You like. And you do what? You share. And we need your comment, as Mr. Ahmed Ami here has been saying. We need your comment. So continue to follow us, continue to join us, and be with us today. Thank you very much. Sir, you're welcome.
Pick lessons as they appear in the school curriculum. The lesson we're going to discuss now is based on Strand 1, which is number. Sub-Strand 1, number and numeration systems. The content standard reads, demonstrate understanding and the use of place value for expressing quantities recorded as base 10 numerals, as well as rounding these to given decimal places and significant figures. This content standard is going to be based on, or is based on 5 indicators, which can be taken as 5 different lessons. So the first indicator reads to model number quantities more than 1 billion using graph sheets, isometric papers, and multi-base blocks. I'll take that again. To model number quantities more than 1 billion using graph sheets, isometric papers, and multi-base blocks. So in any case, I think what the lesson is demanding of us is that teachers will have to use these materials mentioned. What I want us to realize is that for us to use this, the important thing that teachers will have to remember for our learners to understand is how to think about the quantities and choose a unit that will help you to be able to actually model a given quantity. So the concept of unitizing is very important. What it means is that if I decide to use a graph sheet to model a given quantity, then I have to think of, well, based on this quantity given, what part of the graph sheet can I use as my smallest unit of measuring. And so a little clarification I want to give is that the materials mentioned, we heard of multi-base blocks. But actually, once we are talking about base 10, I think that thing should be a base 10 blocks or base 10 materials. When we go in for multi-base, it means we are using other bases apart from 10. But for what has been, written here in terms of the lesson and its delivery, I think we are interested in using the base 10 materials because we are using what we call the Hindu-Arabic numerals. Our system goes for the multiples of 10 and others based on 10. The first exemplar here, which is an activity that has been suggested in our curriculum, is model number quantities up to 1 billion using graph sheets or multi-base materials. For instance, with multi-base blocks 1 unit, the smallest of the base 10 blocks is like this. You can either make it smaller or bigger depending on what you have, but what we have is the smallest unit is this. And then 10 of these, when put together, gives us what we call the rod. So when we put 10 of these together, it gives us a rod. And the value will actually be 10 times the smallest unit. We have 8 now, so 9 and 10. So whatever we want one of these to represent, 10 times that will be the rod. And 10 of the rods will give us this flat. So this is a rod, 2 rods, 3, and then it gives us the flat. The value, the quantity this represents is 100 of whatever this is representing. So once we identify the value for what this goes for, then the flat will have to represent 100 times that quantity. The rod will go for 10 times the quantity that the unit represents. We have the block, which is supposed to be 10 of these, called the block itself. And that is supposed to be 1,000 of what this smallest piece represents. That is for our base 10 material. We have also been informed of using a graph sheet. I've decided to use 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter to represent the smallest unit. Then once we have that, 10 of such will give us our rod. Then this 10 by 10 centimeter unit will give us 100 squared units, and that is going to go for 100, the quantity that the smallest piece represents. Ladies and gentlemen, this is very important. The reason why I had to go through this is that when we are talking about modeling, we need to identify the smallest unit and then multiples of that to take care of other quantities. We have been asked to talk about using these materials to model given quantities, but we are still talking about place value. And so it's very important. For example, as we are starting, I want to give a starter. What starter will I give? Let's think about any 4-digit number that you can remember quickly and give it. And so what is going to be your 4-digit number? Only be written here when it is mentioned well. So
7,578.
So if this is our number, 7,578, because what we are doing is just actually situated within place value, let's do something small to help us revise our knowledge of place value. The digits here, that's 4 digits. I'm seeing 2 sevens placed differently at different places, 5 and then 8. Don't forget that even though this is a 7, that is also a 7. The fact that they have different positions means that they have different values. Change their positions and they will change their values. So if I change my position, I change my value. Let's say it. If I change my position, I change my value. Right. So the 7 here is occupying the thousands place. So its value is 7,000. The 5 here is occupying the hundreds place. So its value is 500. This second 7 is occupying the tens place, so it has a value of 70. The 8 has a value of 8. Put together is what will give us the said number, 7,578. If I decide to reverse this, with the 8 now becoming the very first digit, then it's going to be 8,757. The same digit, but we have changed their positions. So they've changed their values. Let's see how. The original 8 occupying the place of ones, and so having the value of 8, has become 8,000 because it's now occupying the place of the thousands. The 7, which was 70, has now become 700. 5 originally, having the value of 500 has become 50. And our 7,000 has become 7. That is what place value does. Change my position and change my value. So that was an interesting starter. Let's see how to go further. We are to model numbers beyond 1 billion. But as normal, in our normal classrooms, so many people might not even know what the 1 billion is. So let's see if we can write 1 billion on the board. This is my one with 3 zeros, 7 as a period, so there will be a comma. Another 3 zeros as a comma. And then I go for the next period of 3. And so this is actually what we call 1 billion. In words, we have it like this. 1 billion. Right. Let's see the number of digits we have. Starting from here and counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So 10 digits. And once we write numbers up to 10 digits, we have started the billion journey. Anything less than that is not up to a billion. Right. If we decide to write, let's say, this with the zeros, 9 zeros, then it means we have written 12 billion. If it were cedis, Ghana cedis, it would be very interesting to count. So ladies and gentlemen, this is what we are using to make you get an idea of what we are supposed to do. If learners are supposed to model numbers above 1 billion, this is what we expect. And so, seeing our baseline number, which is the fundamental, as the target, the question then will be, how do we quantify this small piece, our base 10 material, the smallest? How do we, give it what value can we give so that at the end of the day, we'll be able to cover the 1 billion? That is what we are supposed to think about. So, in any case, we were given some idea that the smallest piece here can be 100,000. If it is a medicine, we are saying that going to buy this small piece of medicine will be 100,000. Let's see if we'll be able to make it to the 1 billion. What it means is that when we put 10 of these together, if each of this is 100,000 and we have 10 of these, what is it supposed to be? Well, it means we have to multiply this by 10. Ladies and gentlemen, what will be the value? So multiplying this by 10 means we are going to have our numbers like this, another period, and then a 1. See if it is true. So, and this is going to be 1 million. 1 million. So then, the question is, what should be the value of a flat? The flat is 10 times the value of our long, or the rod, as well as being 100 times our smallest unit, which is the 100,000. So what we're saying is that if we have one of these representing 100,000, then 10 of that will be 1 million. But 10 of the 1 million will form our flat, meaning the flat is going to be 10 million, which is written this way. Moving further, then 10 of the flat, which gives us the block, is going to be 100 million. What will 10 blocks give us? If you have 10 of this forming a block, and it gives us 100 million, then 10 of such blocks put together will give us our 1 billion. So 1 billion, which is going to be our target. Of course, the same we should model above the 1 billion. So if it is even 1 billion and 1, we have achieved our indicators or the content standard. Part of it anyway, because I've already said that the content standard is looking at 5 different indicators. The first indicator says we should model number quantities more than 1 billion using graph sheets, isometric papers, or multi-base blocks, which we are saying is supposed to be the base 10 blocks. Base 10 examples of a base 10 blocks is what I'm showing you. So once we decide to use one of these to represent 100,000, then it means we will need 10 blocks to give us the 1 billion. Can we also think about a different value or quantity for this? Supposing we decided to use this to represent 1 million. If the smallest piece here represents 1 million, then 10 of them will be 10 million. So the rod will be 10 million. What it means is that a flat will be 100 million. Then 10 of the flat, that gives us the block, will give us our 1 billion. So what I started with is that for us to help learners model numbers, then we need to think about what we call unitizing. Remember, at one point we said this should be 100,000. Another time we can say that no, we want it to rather become what? 1 million. Depending on the quantity we are modeling, the value for this can change. Changing it to suit the situation is what we call unitizing. There were instances where in one of my visit to a school, a teacher using a graph sheet to model small numbers as appear in primary 4, they will say that, okay, let's use this to represent 1 centimeter to 1 by 1 centimeter to represent, let's say, 100. Then 10 of this will be 1,000, meaning that is going to be 10,000. And 10 of this will be, 100,000. We have not gone anywhere near our 1 billion target. So if learners are using certain quantities for the smallest unit at a lower level, as we are moving, don't forget that we can change the value of the smallest quantity block just to be able to model the number. This idea is very important for teachers. I will stress this, that we need to be able to see, all right, given a quantity like what you gave, let's go for 8,500. If I'm to model a quantity like this, using the base 10 material, then I can think about this being 100. For example, the smallest unit being 100, then the rod will be how many? 1,000. 10 of the 100 will be 1,000. Then the flat is going to be 10,000. It means it goes beyond the quantity that has been given. What it then means is that I just have to think about how many rods do I need. I may need 8 of the rods. All right? And the 500 here will be 5 of these smallest unit, because I said 1 should be 100. So thinking about these ideas, I think it is not so difficult to note that children will have to struggle. They are cutting the graph sheet, and they don't even know which one will have to be the smallest unit because of the quantity given. If I've used this to represent 100, because the quantity is 8,500, of course, when it becomes 800,500, remember, I may not be able to use this, right, as the 100, because it means I have to carry a lot of them. But then again, let's see. If I decide to use this to represent 500, then 2 of them will be 1,000, right? Picking a rod will mean that I'm going for 5,000. So units are very important, and we have to help our learners to know this. Having gone through this, the question we can probably ask is, deciding that our smallest unit is 10,000, how many of such? Our smallest unit is 10,000, smallest unit, which is this one. The question will be, how many blocks shall we need to model our 1 billion? It's a question I want you to think about. So if I have the smallest unit as 10,000, this time no longer 100,000, means 10 of this, which is the rod, will have to give me my 100,000. And a flat will then be 1 million. A block will be 10 million. How many of such blocks do we need to be able to get our 1 billion? It's a question you have to think about. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I believe you have been engaged, and I did not waste your time for nothing. Next time when we meet, we will make it more interactive. So just get prepared and be part of the lesson next time. Thank you.
Visit TVGH. Subscribe, like, and share.